Why does it feel like your desires are perpetually stuck, suspended in some invisible amber that keeps them tantalizingly visible yet impossibly distant? You visualize them with such clarity, you want them with such intensity, and yet they remain stationary, frozen on the horizon like mirages that shimmer but never materialize. There is this exhausting sense that you must venture out and physically drag your dreams toward you, through sheer brute force, through endless hustle, through the grinding expenditure of every ounce of energy you possess. But what if this fundamental assumption is wrong? What if Wallace D, Wattles, the forgotten architect of prosperity consciousness, revealed a truth that contradicts everything you have been taught about the pursuit of wealth? He declared that riches are not dead, static matter waiting to be conquered. They are movable energy, responsive substance, living potential that flows according to invisible laws. And there exists a specific force, an impelling force, that when properly activated within the chambers of your mind, causes the wealth of the world to physically move toward you, as if pulled by an invisible gravity that you yourself have generated. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign of your inadequacy. It is the symptom of a fundamental misalignment with the mechanics of the universe. You have been conditioned to chase success as if it were a wild animal, fleeing through the forest, requiring you to run faster, push harder, and exhaust yourself in the pursuit. This paradigm creates a peculiar and painful dynamic where money itself seems elusive, almost sentient in its ability to evade your grasp. The harder you run toward it, the faster it appears to recede. You wake up tired, you go to sleep anxious, and in between you engage in 1,000 small acts of desperation disguised as productivity. This is not the path to prosperity, this is the treadmill of futility. Wallace D. Wattles, writing in the early 20th century, understood something that modern success literature has largely forgotten. He taught that the universe does not require you to chase anything. Instead, the creative power of the cosmos operates through you as the instrument of manifestation, but it delivers to you as the recipient of abundance. There is a profound difference between these two functions, and confusing them is the source of all your struggle. You are meant to be a channel through which creative energy flows into form, yes, but you are also meant to be a destination toward which created wealth travels. Wattles revealed that by establishing a specific mental polarity, a particular orientation of thought and feeling, you generate an impelling force that compels what he called the thinking stuff to reorganize matter, redirect resources, and bring the objects of your desire directly to your doorstep. The promise embedded in this teaching is nothing less than revolutionary. Imagine no longer chasing, but instead generating. Imagine no longer pursuing, but attracting. Imagine becoming a cosmic magnet of such power that resources begin their journey toward you from the far corners of the earth, guided by forces you have set in motion through the proper application of your mind. This is not fantasy. This is the physics of the mental realm as Wattles understood it, and you are about to learn exactly how this force operates, how it can be activated, and how it can transform your relationship with wealth from one of desperate pursuit to one of magnetic reception. What you are about to receive is not motivation or inspiration in the conventional sense. This is instruction in the physics of attraction, the actual mechanics by which mental causes produce material effects. Wattles was not a poet speaking in metaphors. He was an engineer of consciousness, describing real forces that operate according to consistent principles. Treat what follows as you would treat the operating manual for a powerful machine, because that is precisely what it is. Your mind is the machine. The impelling force is its primary output, and wealth is what this force draws into your life when the machine is properly calibrated and fully operational. Here is the pact we make together in this sacred hour of learning. In this video, you will learn the precise mechanics of the impelling force, understanding not just what it is, but how and why it works. You will discover the three-step method that reverses the flow of your life from the exhausting outward chase to the effortless inward reception. You will understand how to become the center of a vortex that pulls opportunities, resources, and wealth toward you with increasing momentum. But I must warn you of something that awaits in the later portions of this teaching. There exists a specific type of anxious hope, a particular emotional frequency that masquerades as positive expectation, that actually reverses the polarity of your mental magnet. It acts as a repelling force, pushing wealth away from you with a strength directly proportional to how desperately you try to attract it. This force reversal is the hidden saboteur of countless well-intentioned practitioners, and I will reveal its nature and its cure in Part 4. For now, I ask you to make a declaration, to plant a flag in the soil of your consciousness that marks this moment as a turning point. If you are ready to reverse the flow, to stop being the chaser and become the attractor, write in the comments below, "I am the magnet." This is not mere affirmation, it is identification. You are not requesting magnetism, you are recognizing what you already are when properly aligned with these principles. Speak it, write it, and let us proceed into the depths of Wattles' most powerful revelation. At the heart of Wattles' teaching lies a mechanism so elegant in its simplicity, yet so profound in its implications that it deserves your most focused attention. He wrote with crystalline clarity that when you hold the image of your desire with unwavering faith and burning purpose, you initiate something remarkable. You start a force into motion. This is not poetic language or spiritual abstraction. Wattles meant this literally, mechanically, as a description of cause and effect in the mental dimension. The force you generate is as real as the force of gravity, as tangible as the electromagnetic fields that power your devices, as consequential as any physical phenomenon you have ever observed. The difference is that this force originates in consciousness and operates upon the subtle substance from which all physical reality is formed. To understand this mechanism, you must first grasp Wattles' conception of the universe itself. He described a formless substance that permeates all space, interpenetrates all matter, and responds to the impressions of human thought. This is not dead, inert material waiting passively to be shaped. The formless substance is fluid, dynamic, and inherently responsive. It possesses what Wattles called thinking capacity, not in the sense of human cognition, but in the sense of intelligent responsiveness to mental impression. When you hold a clear image in your mind with sufficient intensity, you are not merely daydreaming, you are pressing your thought into this responsive medium as a seal presses into warm wax, leaving an impression that the substance then moves to actualize. The critical insight is that the formless substance does not simply receive your impression and sit there holding it. It moves. The moment your thought makes contact with sufficient clarity and force, movement begins throughout the entire system. Wattles described this movement as universal and immediate, rippling outward from your point of mental focus to influence people, systems, circumstances, and events. Everything that can possibly accommodate your picture begins shifting, adjusting, reorganizing to bring that picture into physical manifestation. This is the impelling force in action, your thought compelling the substance of the universe to rearrange itself on your behalf. Consider what this means for your understanding of how wealth comes to you. The conventional view imagines money and resources as fixed objects in fixed locations, and success as the process of going to where they are and convincing their current holders to release them to you. This is the chasing paradigm, and it places all the burden of movement on your physical person. You must travel, you must pitch, you must persuade, you must compete. But Wattles reveals a radically different picture. The resources you need are not fixed. They are held in a fluid medium that responds to mental force. When your impelling force is activated, those resources begin moving toward you, guided by the intelligent responsiveness of the substance in which all things exist. This explains why some people seem to attract opportunities effortlessly, while others struggle despite enormous physical effort. The difference is not luck, not talent, not even social connection in the conventional sense. The difference is the strength and consistency of their impelling force. Those who prosper easily have learned, consciously or unconsciously, to generate a mental signal that compels the universe to deliver. They hold their vision with such clarity, such faith, such unwavering purpose that the formless substance has no choice but to respond. They have become centers of attractive power, and wealth flows toward them as water flows downhill, following the path of least resistance toward the lowest point. Wattles stated this principle with remarkable directness. The impelling force is sent out, and all things begin to move toward you. Notice the totality of this statement. Not some things, not a few fortunate circumstances, but all things relevant to your vision begin their movement, the moment your force is properly generated. The job you need, the clients you seek, the investors you require, the opportunities you desire, all of them exist somewhere in the vast ocean of the formless substance, and all of them respond to the signal you broadcast when your mental machinery is functioning correctly. This brings us to a crucial question. Why does this force not seem to work for everyone? Why do so many people visualize, affirm, and desire without ever experiencing this magnetic pull of resources toward them? The answer lies in the specific conditions Wattles attach to the activation of the impelling force. It is not enough to merely think about what you want. The image must be held with what Wattles called faith and purpose. These are not decorative additions to the practice. They are essential components without which no force is generated. Faith provides the certainty that connects your thought to the responsive substance. Purpose provides the intensity that gives your impression sufficient depth to compel movement. Without faith, your thought remains in the superficial layers of mind, never penetrating to the level where it can contact and impress the formless substance. You may visualize perfectly, but your visualization floats like oil on water, never mixing with the deeper medium that has the power to actualize it. Doubt is not merely a negative emotion, it is a barrier that prevents your thought from reaching its target. This is why Wattles insisted so strenuously on the cultivation of unwavering faith. It is not about positive thinking in the shallow sense. It is about establishing the mental conditions necessary for your thought to actually reach and impress the creative substance of the universe. Without purpose, your thought lacks the intensity necessary to make a deep impression. Imagine pressing a seal into wax with a trembling, hesitant hand versus pressing with firm, steady, determined force. The first leaves a faint, unclear impression that the wax quickly forgets. The second leaves a deep, sharp impression that the wax holds indefinitely. Your purpose is the pressure behind your mental seal. A wish is light pressure, barely denting the surface of the formless substance. A burning, unshakable purpose is tremendous pressure, driving your image deep into the responsive medium where it becomes a permanent command that the universe must execute. The beauty of this mechanism is that it operates impersonally and universally. The formless substance does not judge whether you deserve what you desire or whether your goals are sufficiently noble. It responds to properly impressed thought as automatically as a mirror responds to whatever stands before it. This means that the impelling force is available to you regardless of your background, your current circumstances, or your past failures. The only requirements are the internal ones: clarity of image, depth of faith, intensity of purpose. Master these, and you master the force that moves all wealth. Understanding this mechanism should fundamentally alter how you approach the pursuit of prosperity. You are not a hunter tracking prey through difficult terrain. You are a signal tower, broadcasting a frequency that draws your good toward you from every direction. Your work is not primarily physical exertion directed outward. Your work is primarily mental cultivation directed inward. Perfect your signal, strengthen your broadcast, and the formless substance will handle the delivery logistics. This is the secret Wattles offered to a world still trapped in the chasing paradigm, and it is the secret that can transform your life when properly understood and applied. The final aspect of this central concept to grasp is the comprehensiveness of what moves when your impelling force is activated. Wattles did not limit this movement to objects or money. He explicitly stated that people would be moved to act for you, often without consciously knowing why. The person who suddenly thinks of you and decides to call, the stranger who feels drawn to offer assistance, the competitor who inexplicably changes their plans in ways that benefit you. All of these are effects of your impelling force working through the responsive medium of the universe. You are not manipulating individuals. You are impressing substance, and individuals embedded in that substance find themselves moved by impulses they may not understand but cannot resist. This is why Wattles could claim that riches could come to you from the ends of the earth. Distance is no barrier to a force that operates through the omnipresent formless substance. The resources you need may currently reside on another continent, in the hands of people who have never heard your name, embedded in circumstances completely unknown to you. None of this matters. When your impelling force is properly generated, It reaches across all distance, touches all relevant elements, and begins drawing them toward you through pathways you could never have planned or predicted. Your only task is to generate the force and trust the substance to handle the complexity of delivery. To fully appreciate the mechanics of the impelling force, consider the spider and its web, for in this ancient relationship lies a perfect analogy for the principle Wattles revealed. The spider does not chase flies across the garden, leaping from plant to plant in exhausting pursuit of its prey. Such a strategy would be not only exhausting, but fundamentally ineffective. The spider would expend all its energy in pursuit, rarely catching anything, and quickly depleting its reserves until collapse became inevitable. This is precisely what happens to human beings who adopt the chasing paradigm in their pursuit of wealth. They run and run, grasping and striving, until exhaustion claims them and they wonder why success always seemed to stay one step ahead. The spider has evolved a far more elegant solution, one that aligns perfectly with the universal principles Wattles described. Instead of chasing, the spider builds. It constructs a web of remarkable precision and strength, positioning this web in a location where its intended prey is likely to pass. The web itself is the spider's primary tool, the expression of its creative capacity, the mechanism through which it will receive its sustenance. Once the web is complete, the spider does not frantically patrol the surrounding area looking for flies to herd into its trap. It simply takes its position at the center of the web and waits with calm alertness, sensitive to the slightest vibration, ready to act when the web does its work. Your mental image held with clarity and faith is your web. When you construct this image with precision, when you position it properly in the formless substance, through the depth of your impression, you have built your mechanism of reception. The web sends out vibrations into the surrounding space, vibrations that somehow attract the very flies the spider needs to survive. Scientists can explain part of this through the physics of silk and light refraction, but the principle remains almost magical in its effectiveness. The prey comes to the predator, not through the predator's pursuit, but through the attractive power of the web itself. Your impelling force operates identically. When your web, your mental image, is properly constructed and held in position, it sends out vibrations through the formless substance. These vibrations are attractive. They draw toward you the resources, opportunities, and people that correspond to your vision. You do not need to know how this works any more than the spider needs to understand optical physics to catch flies. You simply need to build the web correctly and maintain your position at its center. The mechanics of attraction operate automatically once the proper conditions are established. Notice the quality of the spider's waiting. It is not passive laziness, lying about hoping that something good might happen. The spider remains alert, sensitive, ready to act at a moment's notice. When a fly touches the web, the spider feels the vibration instantly and responds with swift, decisive action. This is the quality Wattles required, not passive hoping, but active stillness. You are calm because you trust your web. You are alert because you know that when your impelling force begins delivering results, you must be ready to receive them through appropriate action. The combination of inner stillness and outer readiness is the psychological stance of the master attractor. Consider what would happen if the spider constantly doubted its web. Imagine the spider perpetually leaving its center position to check whether the web is still there, tugging at the strands to test their strength, worrying that perhaps this web will not work like the previous ones did. This neurotic behavior would accomplish nothing positive and would undermine the entire system. The spider would miss vibrations while away from the center. Its constant movement would disturb the web's delicate calibration. Its energy would be wasted on worry, rather than preserved for the moment of necessary action. This is what happens when you doubt your impelling force. You leave your center, you disturb your web, you deplete your energy, and you miss the very opportunities your force was drawing toward you. The web analogy also illuminates why clarity is so essential. A poorly constructed web catches nothing. If the strands are too far apart, prey passes through without being caught. If the pattern is irregular, the structural integrity fails and the web collapses under the weight of what it catches. If the web is positioned in the wrong location, it simply never encounters the prey it was designed to catch. Your mental image must be constructed with similar precision. Vague desires are webs with gaps so large that opportunities pass through unimpeded. Confused images are webs with no structural integrity, collapsing the moment anything substantial touches them. Images disconnected from deep faith and purpose are webs positioned where no prey ever travels. The spider teaches another crucial lesson: patience without passivity. The spider may wait hours, even days, for its web to catch something. During this time, it does not conclude that webs do not work and abandon the strategy. It does not anxiously check whether perhaps it should try chasing instead. It maintains its position, trusts the web, and waits for the inevitable result of having built correctly. Your impelling force may not produce instant results. The movement you initiate in the formless substance must work through physical channels that have their own timing and logistics. People must receive impulses, make decisions, and execute actions. Circumstances must align. Resources must be freed. Pathways must open. All of this takes time in the physical dimension, even though the initiation in the mental dimension is instantaneous. The spider's patience is not passive resignation, but active confidence. It knows at whatever level of knowing is available to a spider that the web works. It has worked before, it is working now, and it will work again. The spider does not need to understand the science of silk strength or insect navigation to trust the process. It simply builds, waits, and receives. This is the quality of faith Wattles demanded. Not intellectual understanding of how the impelling force works, though such understanding is valuable, but visceral certainty that it does work and is working now, regardless of what current appearances might suggest. When prey finally touches the web, the spider acts with decisive swiftness. There is no hesitation, no wondering whether this might really be a fly, no second guessing whether it is appropriate to capture this particular prey. The vibration comes, and the spider moves. This is how you must respond when your impelling force begins delivering results. Opportunities will present themselves, sometimes in unexpected forms, sometimes through unexpected channels. The vibration in your web, the sense that something relevant to your vision has come within reach, must be met with immediate action. Hesitation at this moment is fatal. The fly escapes, the opportunity passes, and you're left wondering why your web does not seem to work, when in fact it worked perfectly. It was your response that failed. The profundity of the spider analogy extends to understanding why chasing is so counterproductive. Imagine a spider that, instead of building a web, spent its days running after flies. Not only would this be exhausting, but the very act of pursuit would alert the flies to danger and cause them to flee faster. The chase itself generates a repelling force. The more the spider runs toward the fly, the more the fly runs away. The spider creates the very elusiveness it experiences. This is precisely what happens in the chasing paradigm of wealth acquisition. Your desperate pursuit broadcasts a frequency that resources instinctively flee. The neediness embedded in chasing creates a repelling force that ensures you never catch what you seek, no matter how fast you run. The web, by contrast, generates no such repelling frequency. It waits silently, almost invisibly, attractive rather than threatening. The fly does not perceive the web as a pursuer to flee, but rather as an interesting feature of the environment to investigate. By the time the fly realizes the truth, it is already caught. Your impelling force, when properly generated, operates with similar subtlety. You are not broadcasting desperation that makes resources flee. You are broadcasting attraction that makes resources curious, interested, drawn toward you. They come to investigate, and by the time they arrive, they are already committed to the connection. Finally, the spider analogy teaches the importance of being the center rather than the periphery. The spider positions itself at the exact center of its web for a reason. From the center, it can feel vibrations from any direction. From the center, it can respond equally quickly to any point on the web. From the center, it maintains maximum sensitivity and minimum response time. You are the center of your mental universe, the point from which your impelling force radiates outward in all directions. You must maintain this central position, not running to the edges in pursuit, not abandoning your post in doubt, but remaining at the center where you can feel the vibrations of approaching success and respond appropriately when it arrives. The state required to generate the impelling force is neither the lethargy of passive hoping nor the frenzy of desperate action. It is something far more refined, something that Wallace D. Wattles understood as the essential prerequisite for all mental creation. This state can be called active stillness, and mastering it is the first step toward becoming what Wattles described as a center of suction that draws wealth through the sheer intensity of properly focused consciousness. Active stillness is paradoxical only to those who have never experienced it. To those who have found it, it is the most natural and powerful state a human being can inhabit. Consider what active stillness is not, for understanding its boundaries will help you recognize its center. It is not passivity, the lazy assumption that thinking about wealth is enough and that no action or effort is required. Wattles was emphatic that action remains essential, that the person who only visualizes without acting is incomplete and will receive incomplete results. Passivity is a state of low energy, low attention, and low engagement with life. It is not attractive, it is merely absent. No impelling force is generated by someone who sits in a chair hoping wealth will knock on the door while they watch television. The stillness in active stillness is not the stillness of inertia, but the stillness of concentrated power. Equally, active stillness is not the frantic hyperactivity that masquerades as productivity in modern life. Running from task to task, constantly checking devices for updates, filling every moment with busyness, this is not the path to generating the impelling force. This frenzy actually dissipates force rather than generating it. Energy scattered in 1,000 directions produces no concentrated effect in any direction. The person who is always busy but never still is like a fire that spreads thin across a vast area, providing no real heat anywhere because its energy is too diffused. The activity in active stillness is not scattered motion, but concentrated intention. Active stillness is the state of a coiled spring, motionless yet full of potential energy, ready to release tremendous force the instant release is appropriate. It is the state of an archer with bow fully drawn, perfectly still in body but intensely alive in focus, waiting for the perfect moment to loose the arrow. It is the state of a predator in the final moment before the strike, every muscle relaxed, yet every sense sharpened, external stillness masking internal readiness. This is the mental posture from which the impelling force is generated, still enough to hold a clear image, active enough to infuse that image with burning purpose, alert enough to act when the force begins producing results. The reason active stillness is necessary relates to the mechanics of how thought impresses the formless substance. A scattered mind cannot hold a clear image. If your attention is constantly jumping from thought to thought, worry to worry, task to task, you never maintain contact with your vision long enough to create a deep impression. It is like trying to press a seal into wax while your hand is shaking violently. You might make contact, but you will never create a clear impression. Stillness provides the stability necessary for clear mental imaging. Your vision needs to be held with rock-steady consistency, and this is only possible when the mind is calm, centered, and focused. But stillness alone produces only clear images, not powerful ones. The image must also be charged with energy, infused with purpose, alive with desire. This is where the active component becomes essential. You must feel the wanting, not as passive wishing, but as active intending. You must engage your emotional energy, your vital force, your deepest motivation, and pour it into the clear image that your stillness maintains. The combination of calm clarity and fiery intensity is what creates an impression deep enough to compel the formless substance to move. One without the other is insufficient. Both together are irresistible. The metaphor of a center of suction captures the attractive quality of this state beautifully. When you achieve active stillness while holding your vision, you create a kind of vacuum in the formless substance. Your certainty that the thing is yours, combined with your clear image of what it is, creates a space where that thing already exists mentally, but does not yet exist physically. Nature abhors a vacuum. The universe moves to fill empty spaces. By creating a mental space that is fully formed and fully expected, but not yet physically occupied, you establish a suction that draws physical substance into that space to fill it. You become the eye of a hurricane, still at the center, while tremendous forces spiral around you, drawing everything toward your point of focus. Achieving this state requires practice, for it is contrary to how most people have learned to operate. Modern life trains scattered attention and anxious activity. You are taught that productivity means doing as much as possible, that rest is laziness, that stillness is wasted time. These beliefs must be consciously overwritten with the understanding that the most productive thing you can do is achieve and maintain active stillness while holding a clear vision of your desire. The minutes spent in this state are worth more than hours of frantic activity because they set forces in motion that multiply the effectiveness of whatever action follows. Begin cultivating active stillness in small increments. Find a quiet place, still your body completely, and bring a clear image of your desire to mind. Hold the image as if you were physically looking at a photograph, seeing every detail with clarity. As you hold the image, feel the wanting arise within you, not anxious wanting but confident wanting, the wanting that expects to receive. Notice if your mind tries to wander or worry. Gently bring it back to the clear image and the confident feeling. With practice, you will be able to sustain this state for longer periods and enter it more quickly. Eventually, you will carry an undercurrent of active stillness with you throughout your day, maintaining the impelling force even while engaging in ordinary activities. The depth of your active stillness determines the depth of your impression on the formless substance, and the depth of impression determines the strength of the impelling force generated. A shallow stillness, easily disturbed by passing thoughts or external distractions, creates a shallow impression that produces weak force. A profound stillness, rooted in unshakable certainty and undistracted focus, creates a profound impression that produces tremendous force. The masters of manifestation were not distinguished by special talent, but by their ability to achieve and sustain profound, active stillness. They had learned to become utterly still and utterly intense simultaneously, and this combination made them irresistible attractors of whatever they desired. As you develop this capacity, you will notice a shift in how you experience the pursuit of wealth. The frantic, anxious quality will begin to dissolve, replaced by a calm confidence that feels almost strange at first. You will find yourself less inclined to chase and more inclined to prepare, less interested in forcing and more interested in attracting. This shift is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that the most powerful position is not the position of pursuit, but the position of magnetic attraction. From this position, you do not tire yourself running after resources. You strengthen yourself generating the force that makes resources run toward you. The cultivation of active stillness is not separate from daily life, but must eventually integrate with it. You will not always be able to sit in quiet meditation holding your vision. You have responsibilities, tasks, interactions that require your attention. But beneath all of these, you can maintain the undercurrent of your clear image and confident expectation. Like a background process running on a computer while you work with foreground applications, your impelling force can be continuously generated even while you engage with the demands of ordinary existence. This integration of active stillness with active living is the mark of true mastery and the source of sustained magnetic power. The internal preparation is inseparable from the external results. If you find that your impelling force seems weak, that resources are not moving toward you as they should, look first to your mental state. Are you achieving true stillness, or is your mind scattered and anxious? Are you holding a truly clear image, or is your vision vague and shifting? Are you infusing your image with real purpose and desire, or is your wanting pale and hesitant? The answers to these questions will diagnose any failure in the attraction process. The correction is always the same. Return to active stillness, clarify your image, intensify your purpose, and trust the force to do its work. The impelling force is not generated by accident or wishful thinking. It is produced through the deliberate activation of 3 specific generators within your mental machinery. Each generator contributes an essential component to the force, and weakness in anyone undermines the power of the whole. Wallace D. Wattles identified these generators through careful observation of how thought translates into physical result. And mastering them is your primary work as a student of the science of getting rich. Consider each generator in turn, understanding not just what it is but why it matters and how to develop it to maximum capacity. The first generator is the clarity of the signal, the sharpness and definition of the mental image you hold. Consider a radio tower broadcasting a signal into the surrounding area. If the signal is fuzzy, distorted, full of static and interference, no receiver can lock onto it clearly. The message becomes garbled, the connection becomes unreliable, and communication fails. But if the signal is clear, crisp, perfectly defined, receivers across great distances can pick it up without difficulty. The message arrives intact, the connection holds steady, and communication succeeds. Your mental image is your broadcast signal, and its clarity determines whether the formless substance can receive and respond to it effectively. A vague desire generates no impelling force because it provides no clear instructions to the responsive substance. Wanting more money is not an image, it is a category. Wanting a better life is not a picture, it is an abstraction. The formless substance cannot move toward abstractions because they have no form. It can only move toward specific images because specificity provides direction. When you hold a vague desire, you are broadcasting static rather than signal. The universe cannot respond because it does not know what response you are requesting. This is why so many people who think positively about wealth still fail to attract it. Their thinking is positive but imprecise, enthusiastic but unfocused. To maximize the first generator, you must develop your mental image to HD quality, as sharp and detailed as a photograph, as vivid as direct sensory experience. What exactly do you want? Not financial freedom, but the specific amount of money that represents freedom to you. Not a successful business, but the precise nature of that business, its products, its customers, its location, its scale. Not a beautiful home, but the particular home, its architecture, its rooms, its furnishings, its view. The more detail you provide, the stronger your signal becomes. The stronger your signal, the more effectively the formless substance can organize its response. Work on your clarity daily. Take time to sit with your vision and add details. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you smell? Engage all your senses in the construction of your mental image until it becomes so real that you can visit it in your mind as easily as you visit a familiar room. This is not idle fantasy, but essential signal engineering. Each detail you add sharpens your broadcast. Each sense you engage deepens your impression. The impelling force generated by a vivid, multisensory, highly detailed image is incomparably stronger than that generated by a vague, abstract, sensory-impoverished notion. The second generator is the intensity of purpose, the voltage that powers your signal and determines how far it reaches and how deeply it penetrates. Clarity provides the form of your broadcast. Purpose provides its power. A wish is a low-voltage thought, barely disturbing the surface of the formless substance, certainly insufficient to move physical matter any significant distance. A resolute purpose, the absolute decision that you will have what you desire, is high-voltage thought that penetrates deep into the responsive substance and sets tremendous forces in motion. The difference between those who merely dream and those who actually attract is primarily a difference in voltage. Consider the difference in energy between these two statements. It would be nice to have more money, and I will be wealthy. This is my unshakable intention, my burning necessity, my non-negotiable destiny. The first is a whisper. The second is a command. The first barely dents the wax, the second drives deep and holds. The first generates a force so weak that it dissipates before reaching any significant target. The second generates a force that reaches across cities, across continents, across all obstacles to grip the resources it seeks and pull them inexorably toward the sender. You must increase your desire until it becomes a burning necessity. This is not about creating desperation, which is actually counterproductive, as we will discuss later. This is about elevating your wanting from preference to imperative. A preference can be set aside when circumstances become difficult, an imperative cannot. A preference generates force when you feel like it. An imperative generates force constantly because it is always present in your consciousness. The impelling force must be continuous to be effective, and only burning purpose creates continuity. Mild wanting fluctuates, burning purpose burns steadily. How do you increase the intensity of your purpose? By connecting your desire to your deepest motivations, to the reasons behind the reasons, to the core of what you truly want and why you want it. Surface desires carry little emotional voltage, but when you trace those desires down to their roots, when you discover what they really mean to you and why they really matter, you tap into volcanic reserves of emotional energy. The person who wants money because it would be pleasant to have it generates little force. The person who wants money because it represents freedom, security, capacity to serve, fulfillment of potential, that person generates tremendous force because the desire is connected to their deepest self. The third generator is the unbroken connection, which is faith, the continuous cable that transmits your force from the generator to the target. Clarity creates the signal, purpose powers it, but faith delivers it. Without faith, your powerful, clear signal never reaches the formless substance because doubt severs the connection through which transmission occurs. Doubt is not merely a negative emotion. It is a literal interruption in the circuitry of manifestation. The moment you doubt, you cut the cable, and your impelling force, regardless of how clear and powerful it might be, cannot reach its destination. Faith in Wattles' system is not religious belief but functional certainty. It is the unshakable knowing that what you have impressed upon the formless substance must manifest, because that is how the universe operates. Just as you do not doubt that a planted seed will grow if given proper conditions, you do not doubt that a properly impressed thought will manifest. This certainty is not based on hope, but on understanding of law. The law of mental attraction is as reliable as the law of gravity. Things fall down. Properly impressed thoughts materialize. Neither law requires your faith to operate, but your doubt can remove you from the operation of the mental law by preventing you from properly impressing your thoughts. The challenge with faith is that it must be maintained continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week without interruption. A cable that transmits power for 23 hours but is disconnected for 1 hour cannot power anything that requires continuous operation. Your impelling force must be continuous to draw wealth toward you effectively, and this requires that faith be maintained even when you sleep, even when you are distracted, even when circumstances seem to contradict your expectation. The undercurrent of certainty must never waver, regardless of what happens on the surface of your life. Develop your faith through practice and evidence. Each small manifestation you observe strengthens your certainty that the process works. Each time you hold a clear image with purpose and see results begin to move toward you, your faith increases. Start with small things if necessary, building your confidence through minor successes before attempting major attractions. But regardless of where you start, commit to maintaining the connection. When doubt arises, and it will, do not give it attention or argument. Simply return to your clear image, reconnect with your burning purpose, and reassert your certainty. The doubt will fade, your faith will strengthen, your impelling force will continue its work. The three generators work together as a unified system. Clarity without purpose is a sharp signal with no power, visible but impotent. Purpose without clarity is tremendous power with no direction, impressive but wasteful. Either of these without faith is a generator disconnected from its load, producing force that never reaches its target. Only when all three generators are fully operational, when your image is crystal clear, your purpose is burning intensely, and your faith maintains unbroken connection, does your impelling force achieve maximum effect. The formless substance receives a powerful, specific, continuous command, and it has no option but to respond by organizing matter and moving it toward you. The integration of these generators happens in the state of active stillness described earlier. In that state, clarity is natural because the mind is calm and focused. Purpose is natural because the emotions are engaged and intense. Faith is natural because doubt requires distraction to survive, and in active stillness, there is no distraction in which doubt can hide. This is why the cultivation of active stillness is so important. It creates the optimal conditions for all three generators to operate at maximum capacity simultaneously. Master that state, and you master the generation of irresistible impelling force. When the three generators are fully operational, there remains one more aspect of the practice to understand: the appropriate response when your force begins producing results. The impelling force does not deliver wealth directly to your lap through some magical teleportation. It works through natural channels, influencing people and circumstances to create opportunities that you must then act upon. When these opportunities arise, when the phone rings, when the email arrives, when the chance meeting occurs, you must recognize these as the effects of your force working and act upon them immediately. Hesitation at this stage is as fatal as doubt at the generation stage. The opportunities created by your impelling force are like delivery trucks that you have ordered. They arrive at your door carrying the resources you requested, but they will not wait forever. If you do not answer the door, they will leave. If you question whether they are really the trucks you ordered, they will leave. If you decide you are not ready to receive the delivery, they will leave. Your impelling force can only bring opportunities to your door. It cannot force you to receive them. The final step of manifestation always requires your action, your decision, your willingness to accept what you have attracted and integrate it into your life. Watch for these opportunities with the alertness of the spider at the center of its web. Feel for the vibrations that indicate something relevant to your vision has come within reach. When you feel that vibration, do not hesitate, do not doubt, do not second guess. Act with the swiftness and certainty that comes from knowing this opportunity is not accident but delivery, not chance but response to your command. This action is not the chasing you have abandoned, but the receiving you have cultivated. You are not pursuing the opportunity. You are welcoming its arrival. You are not forcing the result. You are accepting the gift. The impelling force can be reversed. What should pull can push. What should attract can repel. And the most insidious aspect of this reversal is that it occurs through something that feels like the right approach, something that seems like it should work, but actually guarantees failure. This is the revelation I promised earlier, the force reversal that sabotages countless practitioners who believe they are doing everything correctly while unknowingly driving wealth away with every mental effort they make. The difference is subtle but absolutely crucial, and understanding it marks the dividing line between those who attract and those who merely struggle. The first and most fatal mistake is the repelling force of needing. There exists a fundamental difference between desiring and needing, and this difference determines whether your mental activity generates attraction or repulsion. Desiring is a positive movement towards something you want. It is reaching, expanding, growing. Needing is a negative acknowledgement of something you lack. It is grasping, contracting, defending. They feel similar on the surface because both involve wanting something you do not currently have. But their underlying energetic signatures are opposite, and the formless substance responds to them in opposite ways. When you desire something, you are essentially saying, "This wonderful thing exists, and I am moving toward it." The focus is on the wonderful thing and your movement toward it. There is expansion, positivity, forward motion. Your mental posture is one of strength reaching for more strength, abundance approaching greater abundance, fullness seeking fuller expression. This posture generates attractive force because it is aligned with the fundamental creative movement of the universe, which is always toward greater expression and expansion. When you need something, you are essentially saying, "I lack this essential thing, and without it, I cannot survive or thrive." The focus is on the lack and the desperation to fill it. There is contraction, negativity, defensive grasping. Your mental posture is one of weakness trying to become strong, emptiness trying to become full, inadequacy trying to become adequate. This posture generates repulsive force because it is misaligned with the creative movement of the universe. You are broadcasting lack, and the universe responds by giving you more experiences of lack. The difference is not in what you want, but in why you want it and how you hold that wanting. The person who desires $1 million because they want to expand their capacity for experience, contribution, and creation is generating attractive force. The person who needs $1 million because they believe they are inadequate, unsafe, and incomplete without it is generating repulsive force. The external goal is identical. The internal relationship to that goal is opposite. The results will be opposite. This is why anxious hope repels. Anxious hope is desire contaminated by need. It is the wanting of something combined with the desperate fear that you might not get it. The hope aspect looks forward to the desired outcome. The anxious aspect looks backward to the feared lack. When these mix, the anxiety always dominates because fear is more energetically powerful than hope in most people's emotional systems. The signal broadcast by anxious hope is not, "I am attracting this wonderful thing," but, "Please, I desperately need this thing because I am not okay without it." The formless substance responds to the dominant frequency, and the dominant frequency is lack. The harder you try to attract from a position of need, the more strongly you repel. This explains the frustrating experience of so many practitioners who believe that increased effort should produce increased results. They visualize harder, affirm more frequently, concentrate with greater intensity, all while their underlying neediness broadcasts an ever stronger repelling signal. Their increased effort increases their repulsion. They feel like they are pushing a boulder up a hill, and they are right. But what they do not realize is that they are also pushing the hill itself further away. The goal recedes in proportion to their desperate effort to reach it. Shifting from need to desire requires honest examination of your underlying motivation and relationship to your goal. Ask yourself, if I never achieved this goal, could I still be fundamentally okay? If the answer is no, you are in need, and your force is reversed. If the answer is yes, that you want this goal passionately, but your fundamental worth and well-being do not depend on it, you are in desire, and your force is attractive. The paradox is that you must somehow want something intensely while not needing it desperately. This seems contradictory, but is actually a description of mature, healthy desire. The shift is not about wanting less, it is about wanting differently. You must cultivate a sense of fundamental adequacy that exists independent of any particular acquisition. From this foundation of inherent completeness, you can then desire expansion, enhancement, and addition without falling into the trap of need. Your wanting becomes, "I am complete, and I choose to add this wonderful experience to my completeness," rather than, "I am incomplete, and I need this thing to make me whole." Both generate strong force, but one attracts and the other repels. The second major mistake is attempting to use the impelling force on specific individuals. You might have a clear image, "I want my boss to give me a raise." You might have intense purpose, "I absolutely must have this raise." You might even have faith, "I know I will get this raise." All three generators are operational, but your force is misapplied. You are trying to impel a person rather than impressing the formless substance. This is not only ineffective, but borders on mental coercion, which Wattles explicitly forbade. The impelling force works through the universal formless substance, not through individual human minds. When you properly generate the force, you impress the substance with your desire, for example, an increase in income of a specific amount. The substance then moves to deliver this through whatever channel is most appropriate. This might be your current boss giving you a raise, but it might equally be a new job offer with higher salary, a business opportunity that generates the income, an unexpected inheritance, a side venture that succeeds, or countless other possibilities you could never have predicted. By insisting that your boss specifically must be the channel, you limit the universe to one possibility when infinite possibilities exist. Moreover, attempting to impel specific individuals creates resistance rather than flow. People have their own consciousness, their own desires, their own free will. When you try to impose your will upon them, even mentally, you encounter the natural resistance of one consciousness against another. The person may not know consciously that you are trying to manipulate them, but at some level, they will feel the pressure and instinctively resist it. Your force, instead of attracting your desire, gets locked in a struggle against the other person's autonomy. You exhaust yourself pushing against resistance instead of flowing toward reception. Wattles' instruction is clear. Impel the substance, not the individual. Form your clear image of the result you want, the amount of money, the type of success, the quality of experience, without attachment to the specific channel through which it arrives. Trust the formless substance to determine the optimal delivery path. Your boss might indeed be that path, but so might 1,000 other possibilities. By remaining open to all channels while clearly requesting the specific result, you remove resistance and allow your force to find the path of least resistance, which is always the path of fastest manifestation. The practical application of this principle requires a shift in how you construct your mental images. Instead of imagining specific people doing specific things for you, imagine yourself having already received the specific result you desire. See yourself with the money in the job, living the experience without specifying how it came to you. This approach keeps your image clear and your purpose strong while leaving the delivery mechanism to the intelligence of the formless substance. It is not less specific. It is specific about the right things, the what rather than the how, the end rather than the means. Wallace D. Wattles captured the full scope of the impelling force's operation in a passage that deserves your deepest contemplation. He wrote that when the force is properly generated, it is sent out into the formless substance, and all things begin to move toward the person who sends it. This movement is comprehensive and includes not only objects and circumstances, but people themselves. Men will be moved to act for you, Wattles declared, even without knowing why they do so. They will feel impulses, urges, ideas arising within them that lead them to take actions that benefit you, and they will attribute these to their own initiative when in fact they are responding to your impelling force working through the universal substance. This is not manipulation in any negative sense, because you are not targeting or coercing any individual. You are simply broadcasting a clear signal of what you desire into the responsive substance of the universe. That substance permeates everyone and everything. When your signal reaches the substance within another person, it may generate an impulse that aligns with their own good, their own path, their own development, while also serving your request. The person follows the impulse because it feels right to them, because it serves their own interests as well as yours. There is no violation of free will, only harmonious alignment facilitated by the intelligent responsiveness of the universal substance. Consider what this means for your understanding of how wealth and opportunity actually arrive. They do not appear from nowhere, they come through people. Every deal, every job, every sale involves human decisions and human actions. When your impelling force is strong and properly aimed, you are influencing the field of possibility within which these people make their decisions. Not controlling them, not forcing them, but tilting the field slightly in your direction. A potential client who might have chosen a competitor feels drawn to you instead. A hiring manager who might have selected another candidate feels that you are the right fit. An investor who might have passed on your proposal feels compelled to look more closely. These are not mysterious occurrences when understood through Wattles' framework. They are the natural consequences of an impelling force working through the formless substance to influence all elements relevant to your impressed image. The people involved are not puppets. They are free agents who happen to be swimming in a substance that now carries your impressed intent. That intent influences them, as a current influences a swimmer, not forcing them against their will, but making certain directions easier than others. They still choose, but their choices are more likely to favor you when your force is strong. Wattles' statement that people will be moved without knowing why describes the everyday mystery that everyone has experienced. You think of someone and they call. You need help, and it appears unexpectedly. You look for a solution, and a stranger provides it seemingly by accident. These experiences are usually attributed to coincidence or luck, but in Wattles' system, they are evidence of the impelling force at work. Thought impresses substance. Substance moves people. People take actions that serve the original thought. The chain is unbroken, and what appears miraculous is simply mechanics not yet understood by the mainstream. Your role is not to orchestrate these human movements, but to generate the force that makes them possible. Focus on your clear image, your burning purpose, your unbroken faith. Let the force radiate outward through the formless substance. Trust that it will reach whoever needs to be reached and influence whatever needs to be influenced. Your work is at the source of the river, determining its direction and power. The substance handles the distribution, finding every channel, every tributary, every human vessel that can carry your intent toward manifestation. The elegance of this approach is that it removes anxiety about the how, while keeping focus on the what. You do not need to figure out who needs to be convinced, what strings need to be pulled, which sequences of events need to unfold. These complexities would overwhelm any finite human mind. But they do not overwhelm the formless substance, which is infinite in intelligence and unlimited in access. Your job is simply to give clear instructions to this infinite intelligence and then act on the opportunities it creates. The logistics of moving wealth from wherever it is to wherever you are is not your problem to solve. It is your force's work to accomplish. This understanding should increase both your confidence and your humility. Confidence, because you know that your properly generated force can reach across any distance, influence any relevant party, and organize any necessary circumstance. Humility, because you also know that you are not doing this through your personal power, but through alignment with a universal principle that operates independent of your ego. You are a channel, a broadcaster, a generator of force. But the force works through a substance greater than yourself to accomplish ends more complex than you could orchestrate. The proper stance is cooperation with immense intelligence, not isolated effort against impossible odds. Hold this vision. You stand at the center of a vast web of formless substance. Your clear image impresses this substance, sending ripples outward in all directions. These ripples reach people you have never met, in places you have never visited, and something within them stirs. They do not know why, but they feel moved to act, to call, to offer, to give, to send, to connect. Each follows their own impulse, serves their own interest, makes their own choice. Yet all these independent choices mysteriously converge toward you, bringing resources, opportunities, and relationships that serve your original vision. This is the impelling force in full operation, and it is available to you the moment you fulfill the conditions of its generation. The principles Wallace D. Wattles articulated do not exist in isolation from the physical laws that govern our universe. Rather, they represent an extension of those laws into the mental and metaphysical dimensions where thought operates as cause and physical reality appears as effect. To deepen your understanding and strengthen your faith, consider how the impelling force parallels the most universal physical force known to science, gravity. This connection is not mere metaphor, but a genuine correspondence that reveals the unified nature of all attractive forces operating at different levels of reality. Gravity operates through a simple yet profound principle. Mass attracts mass. Every object with mass generates a gravitational field that pulls other massive objects toward it. The greater the mass, the stronger the pull. The closer the objects, the more powerful the attraction. This force operates continuously, without requiring attention or effort from the objects involved. The sun does not try to hold the planets in orbit. It simply possesses sufficient mass that its gravitational field naturally captures and maintains them. The planets do not try to stay in orbit. They simply respond to the gravitational reality in which they exist. In the mental dimension, a parallel principle operates. Thought mass attracts physical mass. When you develop a thought to sufficient density, give it enough weight through faith, and charge it with enough energy through purpose, you generate what might be called mental gravity. This mental gravity operates on the formless substance, just as physical gravity operates on physical matter. It attracts, it pulls, it draws toward itself whatever corresponds to its nature. The mechanism differs in detail, but corresponds in principle. Both are attractive forces. Both are generated by mass and energy. Both operate continuously once established. The density of your thought corresponds to its detail. A vague thought is like a diffuse cloud of gas, scattered and barely generating any gravitational pull. A detailed, vivid, multisensory thought is like a compressed sphere of dense matter, generating significant gravitational effect. This is why clarity matters so much in the generation of impelling force. You are not merely defining what you want. You are adding mass to your thought, increasing its density, strengthening its gravitational pull on the physical resources that correspond to it. The weight of your thought corresponds to your faith. In physical terms, weight is mass under the influence of gravity, the measure of how strongly gravity pulls on an object. In mental terms, faith gives your thought weight by connecting it firmly to the responsive substance of the universe. A thought held without faith floats weightless in mind, disconnected from the substance that could actualize it. A thought held with unshakable faith has tremendous weight, anchored in the substance, exerting continuous pull on everything relevant to its fulfillment. The energy of your thought corresponds to your purpose. In physical systems, energy is the capacity to do work, to cause motion, to produce change. In mental systems, purpose provides this capacity. A purposeless thought has no energy to move anything. It may exist as a clear image but accomplishes nothing. A purpose-filled thought radiates energy outward, stirring the formless substance, initiating movement, causing the reorganization that brings physical manifestation. When you combine density, weight, and energy, when your thought has clarity, faith, and purpose, you have created what amounts to a mental object of significant mass and gravitational pull. Just as a physical body of sufficient mass curves the space around it, causing other objects to fall toward it along the curves, your mental object curves the mental space around it, causing physical resources to fall toward you along paths you might never predict. You have become what Wattles described, a center of suction, a point of attraction that draws all relevant elements toward itself through the natural operation of mental gravity. This analogy helps explain why the impelling force seems to work automatically once properly established. Gravity does not require continuous effort from massive objects. It simply is a property of their mass. Similarly, your impelling force, once properly generated through clear image, burning purpose, and continuous faith, does not require continuous conscious effort. It operates while you sleep, while you work, while you engage in completely unrelated activities. The mental gravity you have established continues to pull, continues to attract, continues to organize the delivery of your desires. You established the mass. The attraction follows automatically. This also explains why doubt is so destructive. In gravitational terms, doubt would be like a massive object suddenly losing mass, its gravitational pull collapsing, the objects it was attracting suddenly drifting away or even flying off in random directions. When you doubt, you reduce the weight of your thought, weakening its anchor in the formless substance, diminishing its pull on physical reality. The resources that were moving toward you feel the reduction in pull and may veer off course or stop moving altogether. Maintaining faith is maintaining mass. It keeps your mental gravity strong and consistent. The concept of mental gravity also illuminates why certain people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others struggle despite similar external circumstances. The effortless attractors have simply generated more mental gravity than the strugglers. Their thoughts about wealth and success are denser, heavier, more energized. They have become massive objects in the metaphysical universe around which resources naturally orbit and toward which opportunities naturally fall. The strugglers may work harder in physical terms, but their mental gravity is weak. They chase because they have not established sufficient attractive force to draw what they need. You can increase your mental gravity deliberately and progressively. Add detail to your vision to increase density. Strengthen your faith to increase weight. Intensify your purpose to increase energy. As these qualities increase, your mental gravity increases, and the responsive formless substance adjusts accordingly. Resources that previously showed no movement begin to stir. Opportunities that previously passed you by begin to curve toward you. People who previously ignored you begin to feel drawn to connect. The field of your influence expands as your mental mass grows. The final aspect of this gravity analogy concerns the relationship between the attractor and the attracted. Heavy objects do not move toward lighter objects. Lighter objects move toward heavier objects. If you want wealth to move toward you, rather than you having to chase wealth, you must become the heavier object in the relationship. Your mental gravity must be greater than your current lax mental gravity. Most people, by constantly focusing on their problems, their debts, their limitations, have made their lacks massive and their desires weightless. They become attracted to their problems rather than their solutions being attracted to them. Reverse this relationship. Make your vision of wealth dense with detail, heavy with faith, energized with purpose. Make your problems vague, weightless, powerless in comparison. Shift the balance of mental mass so that your desired future outweighs your problematic present. When this shift occurs, you stop falling toward your problems and start having resources fall toward you. You become the sun in your own solar system, and everything that belongs in your orbit begins its journey toward you. This is the physics of the mental universe, and it operates with the same reliability as the physics of the physical universe. Understand it, apply it, and watch your life transform. The principles we have discussed are not mere theory, but practical reality that manifests in the lives of those who apply them. Consider the story of a business owner who discovered the impelling force through painful experience of its absence before learning to generate it consciously. His transformation illustrates the difference between the chasing paradigm and the attracting paradigm in vivid, practical terms. For years, this entrepreneur operated in pure chase mode. His mornings began with cold calls, reaching out to potential clients who had not requested contact, trying to convince strangers to buy his services. His afternoons were spent in networking meetings, pressing business cards into reluctant hands, following up with people who clearly wished he would stop contacting them. His evenings were consumed with worry, reviewing the day's rejections, wondering what he was doing wrong, planning tomorrow's chase with desperate determination. He was exhausted, discouraged, and barely keeping his business alive through sheer force of stubborn effort. The results matched the method. Clients acquired through cold calling were difficult customers who demanded much and paid little. They had been convinced rather than attracted, and their reluctance persisted throughout the relationship. Networking contacts rarely converted into business because the desperate energy he brought to those meetings repelled rather than attracted. He was pushing a boulder uphill every single day, and every day the boulder felt heavier. The chasing paradigm was not merely ineffective, it was actively counterproductive, generating the very resistance he struggled against. The shift began when he encountered principles similar to those Wattles taught and decided, partly from desperation and partly from dawning understanding, to try a different approach. He stopped cold calling entirely. He reduced his networking activity drastically. Instead, he devoted that energy to two activities: improving his product to genuine excellence and holding a clear mental image of his ideal client, the person who needed exactly what he offered and would be delighted to pay well for it. The internal work was invisible to the outside world. Each morning, before checking email or making calls, he sat quietly and visualized his ideal client. He saw this person clearly: their industry, their problem, their search for a solution, their discovery of his business, their initial contact, their delight at finding exactly what they needed. He felt the satisfaction of serving this client, the ease of the relationship, the mutual benefit of the exchange. He held this image with all the faith and purpose he could generate, trusting that the impelling force he was establishing would do its work. The first weeks were terrifying. He was doing less visible work than ever, while his bank account dwindled. The temptation to abandon this approach and return to desperate chasing was enormous. But something kept him focused, some combination of exhaustion with the old way and faith in the new way. He maintained his practice, strengthened his mental image, and waited with what active stillness he could manage. Then the phone began to ring, not with the grudging responses of cold call recipients, but with enthusiastic incoming inquiries. Potential clients were finding him rather than him finding them. They contacted him saying variations of the same mysterious phrase: "I don't know why, but I felt drawn to call you." They had found his business through unlikely chains of referral, through coincidental discoveries, through impulses they could not explain but felt compelled to follow. The impelling force was working. The quality of these attracted clients was completely different from the chased clients of his past. They arrived already wanting what he offered, already trusting his capability, already willing to pay fair prices. The sales conversations were not battles of persuasion, but easy discussions of how to proceed. The relationships were harmonious because they were built on genuine alignment rather than reluctant acquiescence. His business transformed not just in revenue, but in the joy of operating it. This entrepreneur had discovered through experience what Wattles taught through principle. He had stopped trying to push the universe and started generating a pull that the universe responded to. He had stopped exhausting himself in chase and started positioning himself to receive. The impelling force, once activated through clear vision and sustained faith, had reached across his city and touched the minds of people who needed him, planting impulses that they followed without understanding why. They came to him because his mental gravity had become strong enough to attract them. The story illustrates both the mechanics and the rewards of the impelling force approach. The mechanics: clear image, consistent faith, action on opportunities that arise but no desperate chasing. The rewards: not just more success, but easier success, not just more clients, but better clients, not just more money, but more sustainable and enjoyable prosperity. The entrepreneur did not work less, he worked differently. He invested his energy where it would multiply rather than where it would dissipate. He became a magnet instead of a pursuer. This could be your story. The details would differ, but the principle would be identical. Whatever your field, whatever your goal, the impelling force is available to you. Stop chasing. Start generating. Clarify your vision of what you want. Intensify your purpose until it burns. Maintain your faith without interruption. Watch who calls. Watch what emails arrive. Watch what opportunities present themselves. Watch the world reorganize itself to deliver what you have impressed upon the formless substance. This is not magic. This is law. And like all law, it works for everyone who works with it. Wealth is not a static object to be captured, but a dynamic energy to be directed. This understanding transforms everything about how you approach prosperity. When you see wealth as static, you imagine it sitting somewhere, guarded by gatekeepers, requiring you to break through defenses and seize what you need. This vision creates the chasing paradigm: exhausting effort, constant struggle, occasional success followed by the need to chase again. But when you see wealth as energy, as flowing substance that responds to mental force, you recognize a completely different possibility. You can position yourself to receive this flow rather than fight against it. The distinction between spending your energy chasing versus using your energy calling determines the trajectory of your life. Chasing depletes. Each pursuit costs vitality, and whether you catch your prey or not, you are more tired after than before. Over time, chasing produces burnout, the state of exhaustion so complete that no amount of rest seems to restore capacity. The chasing paradigm is unsustainable because it consumes the very energy it requires. You cannot chase forever. Eventually, you collapse. Calling creates. When you generate impelling force, you are not depleting your energy, but investing it. The force you send out returns to you multiplied in the form of attracted opportunities and resources. Each success builds rather than depletes, because the attracted opportunity required no chase, only reception. The calling paradigm is sustainable because it generates more than it consumes. You can call forever because the act of calling strengthens rather than weakens you. The difference in outcome is equally stark. Chasing creates survival at best, that exhausted state of having just enough because you managed to catch just enough before collapsing from the effort. Calling creates empire, that expansive state of receiving more than you need because your mental gravity attracts more than you could ever chase. The burned-out survivor and the abundant empire builder may start with identical resources and capabilities. The difference in destination is determined entirely by which paradigm they choose. Wattles' teaching offers you this choice consciously and clearly. You can continue chasing, spending your precious life energy in pursuit, occasionally catching enough to survive, but never enough to thrive, and eventually burning out from the unsustainable effort. Or you can learn to call, investing your energy in the generation of impelling force, positioning yourself at the center of a vortex that draws wealth from all directions, and building an ever-expanding prosperity that compounds over time. One path leads to exhaustion, the other leads to empire. The principles are now in your hands. The choice is entirely yours. Stop running. This is not advice for the lazy, but instruction for the wise. You have been running toward wealth, toward success, toward the life you desire, and the running itself has been your primary obstacle. The universe does not reward those who chase most frantically. It responds to those who call most clearly. Stand still, not in resignation but in power. Ground yourself in the certainty that you need chase nothing, because everything you need can be called to you. From this grounded stance, turn on the machine. The machine is your mind, properly configured for the generation of impelling force. Activate it through the clarity of your vision, seeing with HD precision exactly what you desire. Activate it through the intensity of your purpose, feeling the burning determination that transforms wish into will. Activate it through the continuity of your faith, maintaining the connection that transmits your force into the responsive substance of the universe. When these three generators are running, you become what Wattles described, a center of attractive power that commands the movement of wealth. Let your vision reach out. See it extending from your mind, like light from a beacon, crossing streets, crossing cities, crossing oceans. Let its clarity cut through all obstacles, its purpose penetrate all barriers. Somewhere in that vast reach are the resources you need, the money, the opportunities, the people, the circumstances that will compose your prosperity. Your vision is touching them now, even if they exist on the other side of the planet. The formless substance is responding now, even if the physical manifestation will take time to arrive. Trust this process because it is law, and law does not fail. Your faith must grip what it reaches for. Not tentatively, not hopefully, but with the certainty of someone claiming what is already theirs. The resources exist. The pathways exist. The people who will help you exist. Your impelling force is connecting to all of these even as you read these words. Believe this, not because it would be nice if it were true, but because the mechanics of the universe make it necessarily true. Properly impressed thought moves the formless substance. Moving substance reorganizes physical reality. Reorganized reality delivers your desire. This chain is unbreakable when you maintain your end of it. You are the center of your universe. This is not egotism but cosmological fact. Your experience radiates outward from your perspective. Your actions ripple outward from your position. Your mental impressions spread outward from your consciousness. You cannot escape being the center of your universe because there is no other position from which you can experience anything. Accept this centrality and use it. From your center, command the riches to come home, not with the desperation of one who lacks, but with the authority of one who knows they are entitled to receive. The riches will obey, not because you are special, but because you are aligned. Not because you deserve more than others, but because you are generating the force that attracts rather than repels. The formless substance is impersonal. It responds to whoever meets its conditions. Meet the conditions and watch the response. Hold your clear vision with burning purpose and unbroken faith, and the ancient laws that have operated since the universe began will operate for you. Wealth will move toward you as naturally as water flows downhill, as inevitably as planets orbit suns. This is your birthright when you learn to claim it. This is your power when you learn to exercise it. I offer you a challenge, a practical test of everything you have learned today. Call it the magnetism challenge and engage with it as a scientist would engage with an experiment, observing carefully to see if the predicted effects actually occur. The principles work, but you should not accept this on faith alone. Test them. Verify them through your own experience. Then you will know rather than merely believe. For 3 days starting tomorrow, take no outbound action that comes from panic or chasing. No desperate cold calls. No anxious follow-ups with people who have not responded. No frantic networking driven by fear that you are not doing enough. Notice how much of your normal activity falls into this category, how much of what you call productivity is actually panic in disguise. For these 3 days, set all of that aside. Instead, focus 100% of your effort on generating the strongest possible mental signal of your desire. Clarify your vision until it sparkles with detail. Intensify your purpose until it burns in your chest. Strengthen your faith until doubt cannot find a foothold. Spend time each morning in active stillness, broadcasting your signal into the formless substance. Carry the undercurrent of your vision with you throughout the day. Fall asleep holding your image, and let your faith work through the night while your conscious mind rests. Then watch. Watch how the world reacts to your shifted energy. Watch who calls you during these 3 days, and notice if the quality of incoming contact differs from normal. Watch what emails arrive in your inbox, and observe if opportunities begin appearing that you did not chase. Watch what coincidences occur, what meetings happen, what information crosses your path. Pay attention to the movements around you and ask yourself if they correlate with the force you are generating. This is not passive waiting, it is active observation. You are running an experiment on the nature of reality, testing whether the impelling force produces the effects Wattles predicted. If nothing changes, you have learned something. If everything changes, you have learned something far more valuable. Either way, you emerge from the challenge with knowledge rather than speculation, with experience rather than mere hope. I predict that you will be surprised by what happens. The phone will ring with calls you did not generate through outbound effort. Emails will arrive offering opportunities you did not pursue. People will express interest in connecting with you for reasons they cannot articulate. I don't know why, but I felt drawn to reach out. You will hear some version of this phrase, and you will know that your impelling force is working. The resources are beginning their journey toward you from wherever they have been waiting. If you are ready to stop chasing shadows and start attracting substance, if you are prepared to step out of the exhausting paradigm that has dominated your life until now and step into the magnetic paradigm that Wattles revealed, then subscribe to the Master's Legacy. This channel is your connection to the accumulated wisdom of those who understood laws that the modern world has largely forgotten. Each teaching builds upon the last, deepening your knowledge, strengthening your practice, expanding your capacity to generate the forces that shape reality. Activate your impelling force. Become the magnet you were always meant to be. Let wealth flow toward you from the ends of the earth, guided by your vision, drawn by your faith, compelled by your purpose. The secret is now yours. The power is now yours. What you do with them determines everything that follows. Choose wisely, act decisively, and watch as the universe reorganizes itself to accommodate the clear, powerful, irresistible signal you are now broadcasting.